Hello there, Seraphim17 once again. This is my level 1 fist and knees build from Nioh. We're kind of cosplaying as Raoh the Conqueror. I didn't really get my character to look how I wanted to, but it's okay. I didn't really get anything to work how I wanted to, but we still managed to get through the game, which speaks volumes of just how flexible this game is, and just how fun it can be to think outside of the box occasionally. I was checking some of the comments for the run, and a couple of people were curious about how I was allocating points, if I was, measuring them all and I knew where they were all going and everything, and if I was going to be putting on passives that add damage, and how I was going to be min-maxing and things like that. And the true nature of the run, guys, is I didn't give it that much thought. All I know is I wanted to do it from the beginning, because I just had the idea of doing it, and that's about as much as I thought about it. I obviously looked into what's the clan I can use to get extra damage, what's the items that will increase barehanded damage, what can I do to augment these numbers, because I know it's not going to be enough. That was pretty much all of it. I didn't go too deep, I didn't get too in-depth with it, because as it stands, I don't really know the best ways of doing it, because I don't have the Future Press guide that's coming out in April. Once I get that book, it's going to be way easier to understand a lot of the parts of the game that at the moment there's so much speculation over. Because GameFAQs and wikis, there's a lot of good information there, and there's a lot of hard work put in by really passionate players, but there's also a lot of bullshit and a lot of ambiguity, and I don't want to be going off of things that prove to be false. So hopefully when the book comes out, Future Press usually have a really good reputation for making solid walkthroughs. All of my mysteries and my queries will be answered by those people that have worked with the developers to make something really useful. And then I'll know, what I did wrong, and where I should have been putting points, or what I should have been speccing towards. Because, like at the moment, I was hoping I could get barehanded attack bonus for about 10 to 14% on every piece of armour. And I've only got it on one, which is my gloves, hence why I don't wear a torso or a helmet. And even if I did, I would refashion them so you didn't see them, because I want my chest out on this run. I'm Raoh the Conqueror, he's a fucking beast. He has his tits out in the rain, he doesn't care. The transition there was waiting for these two idiots to come to me, because I'm not going to be doing much fighting on the big gauntlet coming up. I'm going to use them to do it, because they do way more damage than I do, they're way quicker, and it's way safer. There's enough fighting on this level for me to be partaking in that massive gauntlet, and it's a gauntlet that works unlike any other in the game. There are waves of yokai realm, and normally when you destroy something that spawns in from the yokai realm, it doesn't come back, but in this one it kinda does, so you have to be very careful, especially on New Game Plus when this level is 310. That's 309 levels higher than you are right now, so be very careful on New Game Plus. And there is a Hanzo doing his best to hit somebody, but hitting the wall, which is always fun. So I was under the illusion that I would be able to inherit attack damage through equipment and stuff. So I experimented with getting familiarity up on some stuff and reforging a lot, and nothing had the ability to pass on barehanded attack. And I don't know why I thought that I would be able to, but I think you can. It's just a case of the crafting in Nioh is so time consuming that you will spend more time messing around with the blacksmith and getting the resources than you will playing the game. And as much as I really want to make this build even more viable, I say even more viable, the build is viable when the talismans are active. If there was a way to extend the talismans and make your casts last longer, which is probably some kind of skill that does that, then that's probably a better choice than upping the average power of the fists, even though that's definitely something I'd like to look into. But a lot of the ways that I know involve leveling up, because you can, of course, get the points that way, but also, I think somebody mentioned that dexterity goes towards bare fist damage and it makes a difference, so there's a few levels you can pop into that to get to like a soft cap and stuff. But I thought I could achieve it through equipment, and I did a lot of prep with the equipment to try and get something good, and I got a couple of attack bonuses, like plus 20 attack, plus 10 attack on certain armor pieces and what have you, but I didn't get what I needed. And I think one of my major criticisms of the game is that they have this suite of upgrade materials and upgrade methods and all these wonderful different attributes that vary and enable you to make very diverse builds, but then they make it awkward as fuck to get it the way you want. And sometimes you can do all the hard work and get something that's not even fit for you, and you want something else, but you can't because you've put in all that work and you got a bad result. It'd be nice if we could get more control, and I'm not asking for them to make it easier to get ridiculous, because that's not what I'm asking for. I was on the Shining Stone, the Spirit Stone level, you know, Mission 3, with Nu and Tachibana, the fake one, and I was at the very beginning on New Game Plus on this build, trying to get some Onmyo magic points to come back and make the Clone Kelly fight easier, because it's fucking hard. And there was 6 level 750s dead in that first area. There was a bunch of level 600 fellas. You don't need any help getting strong on this game, because you can get ridiculously leveled and have all those skills and do stupid shit and get level 320 weapons that are now level 160 and rarer to get for some reason because they were patched and all this other nonsense. Getting strong is something you can do on Nioh effortlessly. You can take some time and get even stronger and then get ridiculous, but that's not something that's difficult to do. So it's not really about that, it's about getting what you want and making these builds different from each other, because that's what I really enjoy. And how many times have you seen a really, really good inherited skill on a weapon, and you've maxed the familiarity on it, and you've gone to trade it onto your weapon that has the space and everything, and it doesn't inherit it? Happens a lot, doesn't it? I'm not entirely sure why that is. It might be a balancing conceit, I might be doing something wrong, but every time I try to make stuff that I think is going to be amazing, I come up against some kind of issue where I don't get what I want or it doesn't work. And it's kind of the story of this run. I just thought we would have so many more tools, as I mentioned. I thought every piece of armor would have a bonus to the fists. I thought I would have a Guardian Spirit that gave me bonus to the fists, but I can't even remember if there is one, and if so, if I can even access it at level 1. You know, so many different aspects of this run that came together in ways I didn't expect, and then in other ways that I kind of did. But I was under the illusion at the beginning that once I did the first level, you know, once I did the Man with the Guardian Spirit, and once I did the Isle of Demons, that was it. I was going to have everything I really needed, other than, you know, just a couple of pieces of equipment that I get later on. But, you know, I was the guy who started this run under the illusion that each of the stances had different moves, that the fists would have a grapple, you know, that you'd be able to do skills with them and stuff. Like, I just imagined that on the spear tree, or on the single sword tree somewhere, that there were moves for the unarmed attacks, similar to the parry that's on one of those trees. Because I just expected more, you know? I thought there'd be a guillotine throw. I thought there'd be a wind path. I thought there'd be all these homages to Ninja Gaiden, and they just went a different way. So it's going to be super exciting to see what they do with the DLC, because there's so many things I'd love to see in this game, because the foundations are so solid. All they need to do is work on a few things, and this is a series that can really, really go far. And Hanzo's not helping, which is not helping because I'm not helping. So I pop on a cannon, do a couple cannon shots, but I'm going to be reticent to use the cannon at this point, because in my brain, Yamato-no-Orochi is going to be a really easy fight, and I'm just going to shoot it with the guns and it's going to die. And I'm going to be like, ha ha ha, I did it without a weapon, still unarmed, I just used a gun. There was no rules in my run against that, so all you naysayers can go naysay elsewhere. And then I got to the fight and realised, yeah, the gun's not going to cut it. Because it's too awkward and I'm getting hit. And that is a miserable encounter, folks, let me tell you. These enemies do not like fire either. 133 damage on each tick of the fire is kind of really good. Especially the ogre. The one who is the one-eyed guy. The one-eyed yokai. He is incredibly susceptible to fire. You notice how it did 293 then? Whew, really nice damage. I think my team is dead too, so we've got a couple of fellas here getting angry. And you might be wondering, Chris, why aren't you getting in there? Why aren't you attacking and hitting and running and everything? Pretty sure these enemies kill me in one hit. And then I have to do the entire level again. Which, not a problem, it's just I'd rather get through it without having to replay it too many times. If I had a weapon, I would be way up for this. If I had a moveset, I would also be way up for this. You know, imagine if you could do... You know that kick that Hayabusa has in Dead or Alive, where he kind of does a sideways scissor kick 3 times, and it's got tons of forward momentum on it, and then he kind of falls down and rolls? Imagine if you had that. Imagine if you had that move in Dead or Alive, where Ryu goes onto his hands, and he does all those weird handstand kicks and those spinning handstand kicks that are super reminiscent of Yoshimitsu. Those were pretty good, right? A lot of cool stuff. And we have none of them, which is unfortunate. But that's the end of the encounter. Pretty simple stuff when you let your team do all the work. And then once you're through here, there's a nice Deus Ex Machina that gets everybody away from us, and it's just us and the final area in the game. which I think would be interesting, because if you have two friendlies with you right now, this could have easily had, you know, the kind of co-op that we look at conventionally in a video game with the two people with you. But alas, this game lets you do co-op on almost all the levels, doesn't it? So it's awesome if you like doing that. I haven't partook in it, but I totally would if a bunch of my friends actually had PS4s, but unfortunately my friends are all Xbox fanboys apparently. Well, one of them definitely is. The rest, I think, are a bit disenfranchised. Anyway, this is the Demon King revealed. We have to take on a dude who's guarding the door, and it makes sense to kill these enemies, guys, because if you do, they disappear. And then you can actually get through the door without being instantly killed every time you try. So because I used a talisman, I'm going to hit back at the shrine, and now we're going to go and do the boss rush. So if you've never played this particular level, there is an elevator to my left, and it requires 4 torches to be lit to proceed upwards. Each of these bosses, I believe, lights a torch and enables the elevator to work. There's no way of skipping this, guys. It's mandatory refighting of old bosses, but I don't mind that because I love bosses, and it helps you get better at fighting them. So this is going to be on Ryoki. This particular encounter is not all that bad, but I find that when he drops the balls, it makes his AI really weird, because his AI is obsessed with picking up the balls and chucking them at you. I don't know why, but that's just kind of how he rolls. So I'm going to try my best here to do a very aggressive strategy to kind of diffuse him from being able to do this. And he still does it. So it's that moment of, oh, well, fuck you, dude. If you're going to do that, I'm going to buff. So I get my buffs back on, and he starts coming for me. Attack him, dodge behind him, hit him from behind, wait for the spin, dodge the spin. And that's all we're going to do, guys. We're going to stay close, we're going to kick, we're going to get on Ryoki Crusher, which I believe they patched. Because didn't I, on my blind playthrough, kill him, no damage, and it didn't give me the Onryoki Crusher? So I think they might have tweaked that. There's a couple of things in this game that I feel is different to when I first played it. And because the patch notes are so bloody vague, fixed various bugs, what does that mean? Come on, guys, we need more than this. I'd love to know what you changed. But there are certain moments where I definitely feel the differences, because stuff happens, and I know it didn't happen like that. So it's just one of those things where if you put enough time into the game early on before they changed anything, you will feel certain changes, because I know I do. And there will be people that put in way more time than I did, because I had to do a bunch of editing when I was making the playthrough. Like, I think I did 100 hours in under a week, and that was with a ton of editing and a ton of rendering and all that shit that takes you away from playing. So I could have easily done probably 200, because this game is really good. It's my favourite game of the year so far. And there's been a lot of strong releases this year. There's been a lot of fun releases. Been a lot of disappointments too. It's been a good year. It's had differing results, and I like that. But here is the ninja. He's an interesting one, him, because to break his horn, you have to get a little bit creative. I find that if you're using swords, any of the overhead sword moves, if you disengage your lock as you strike him, and you continue attacking where he was rather than where he centers, you can oftentimes hit his horn and stun him. Once you stun his horn, he's very weak and you'll kill him. But outside of that, it's just a case of breaking his stamina. Which leads me to another shortcoming of the fists. This is kind of why not to do a fist run. I was putting on a sword the other day and doing some New Game Plus levels. Hino-Enma has so much life when she's 180. Like, a lot of life for my weak-ass sword on my level 1 build. Onryoko has quite a lot of life. You know, Nu has quite a lot of life. Each of these bosses took me a while to kill them because I had to hit them a lot. But you know what happened because of how much I had to hit them? I got Discord on all of them. Or Chaos, depending on what you like to call it. I think Chaos sounds way better, but I think it's called Discord. So if you stack 2 different status effects on a boss, you will put them into a state where they're continually key crushed. And you can just embarrass them and hit them until they recover. And you can do it for a long time. I did it to Hino-Enma, as I mentioned, on Ryoki, and I did it to this guy. And when you're in that phase, the only limitation of your build is your stamina. And I don't have any, you know, key pulse or key flux moves, so I couldn't get my stamina back very quickly, and I still managed to bully them and allow them never to attack. And it was really interesting, because it brings me to moments like this where I'm attacking this guy, and I'm doing really good damage, admittedly. But if I wasn't, I could be building that Discord all the time. And the only thing I did to get it, guys, I didn't even mess around with items or anything. I had 2 swords equipped, 2 single swords. One had fire on it, one had water. I started with water because it was plus 17, so it built quicker. Once I'd got it built on the enemy, I swapped to the other sword, which had fire, and then I hit them until I got Discord, and then boom, I bullied them. And it's really, really good, and it's really, really powerful, and it's one of those things where I could have embarrassed a ton of bosses in this game just by doing that. And if I'd have had a sword, it would have worked. But alas, the fists don't inherit any kind of anything. You know, there are no gauntlet moves that have different elements. There's no knuckle dusters or any kind of interesting thing. Daggers between the fingers, claws, whatever you want to call it. Hands of God, Hihachi's sandals, as we take on another one of these fellas. There's a very interesting cadence to him. I like him a lot, the ninja one. And I like him because he bullies people who play the game badly. That is an enemy that is designed to punish you. The other yokai, not so much. The other yokai just have incredible armor. He's a guy that if you're being tentative and you're coming in for an attack, unless you know exactly what you're doing, he's going to swing at you. And he's going to swing faster than anything else. And he's one of those enemies that will bully you to the end of the game until you learn to understand him. And I really appreciate that. But this is Hino-Enma. I take a little respite just then, stack my buffs, and then we go into battle. So she's going to taunt at the beginning, and you can get a ton of damage on her for no reason, which I'm always a fan of, because it means I don't have to fight her too long. And now we get into the fight. So this is a different way to dodge the spin. It's actually pretty good. You have to space it correctly, though. If you space it off, if you're too close, you will get hit. You have to be just far away enough so that she comes forward with a lot of momentum. And if you do it correctly, you have a free backshot, and the backshot does extended damage, and it's really, really powerful. It's another thing that I was experimenting with the other day with the sword, and it makes very quick work of her. So that's 2 torches, and oh, that's 3 torches, isn't it? We beat the new up as well. So the only one left now is Jirai Gumo, as I call her. And this is a really, really interesting fight coming up. It goes really well, and then I run out of damage because she starts being a bitch. And I didn't realise that when she spits the web onto the ground, if you touch the web before it lands, it's an attack. Which I think is dog shit. That shouldn't be how that works. You know, that should be like growing the flowers in the Ogress fight. It should be something that's designed to slow momentum. It shouldn't be something that hurts you when you try and push the boss. That's just silly. So I got to the point where I think I could have been killed if I got hit by the web, so I had to be a little bit more passive, and it just doesn't work in my favour, so it becomes a bit of a nail-biter. Which is silly too, because the damage I do early on here when I've got all my buffs on is ridiculous. I mean, it's not, 50k's worth of damage, which I've seen people hit for on the back of an opponent, but it's still pretty good. I'm also using the Atlas Bear for no real reason. I just like that one. So here's me clipping on her legs, punching her in the old ball sack, and I'm hoping she does something slow like that, so that I can hit her. Look at the damage! That was incredible. But did you see the detection on the back attack? I think it's a bit bullshit. My first hit then did 5,000 damage. My second hit did 3,000. Was it a difference in the crit spot? Did I not quite hit her back? Or did my carnage just run out? I think it might have been carnage, but if it wasn't, it's one of the idiosyncrasies that happens a lot in this game. I find myself attacking people from behind, but because the detection on the back attack is so specific, you'll have hits that don't hit correctly and don't get the full measure of the damage. And it's tricky to remedy that. This is the point where we're out of damage and I need to buff. But she can run at you really quickly like that, and if you're buffing, you're dead. So you've got to be... This is the one you want, because it's got a lot more recovery. Ideally, you want something where she spits web, or when she turns into that other form and starts dragging her ass. But I seem to have pushed her through the threshold that she completely skipped messing around with that silly ass drag move. This is when I should be buffing. So now that we've got fists, we can do some damage. It's not going to be as good as Carnage, but it's going to be good enough. But she's not giving me the good moves, and I'm being slowed by the web, which is kind of annoying. I wonder if there's a way to get rid of the web, some kind of fire mechanic to remedy it, or perhaps some kind of immunity on your armor where you don't get affected. This is me pretty much losing the spacing battle there, trying to rush her down and stun her, but my range is not good enough and I end up hitting the plates, which is always frustrating. That move can have 4 hits, so be very careful. There's the spitges. And this is the point where, once again, I'm about to run out of damage. I've got no Fist Talismans left, so I've only got Carnage, so I don't have damage at all. And I'm really regretting not having a Kusarigama, because the knees are not the best, but they do a lot of damage, as opposed to standard fists. And look, the triangle is too slow to hit her in the bum and to get that damage, which means my only crit here is going to have to be weighted and measured correctly, or I'm not going to land it. And if she touches me, she does decent damage. She doesn't kill, though. I think that would kill, the big thrust, but her standard move would not. And then it just becomes this, which is... This is the moments where the build really breaks down. And depending on how much you enjoy this kind of fight, it can be very frustrating. But more spitches. There's the jump, which I'll never understand why she jumps the places she jumps, but I'm glad she does. And now she's just covering more of the environment, doing that weird run animation that she can do perpetually if you keep turning with her. There's the more of the spitting. Opportunity to buff. Does she jump? The jump would be great right now. Instead she claws. You can dodge through these claws and get behind her, but if you space it badly, you take a lot of damage. So for me, running is just the safer option. That's why I'm doing it, if you're wondering. Because you can be way more aggressive, and when you've got a weapon that deals damage consistently, then I recommend you do that. But at this point, being aggressive is just going to lead to a reset when I'm so close to finishing this. So I'm just going to play possum and get her out. And it could have ended badly this easily, because she does a move that's good, and I step on that web and don't realise I'm in trouble, and it could have all ended quickly, but there we go. Put her down. That lasted way too long, but we did it. Kind of an insight into what it's like without the buffs. And you know somebody's going to do that, because there are crazy people on the internet, and I wish them well with it, and I hope they do have fun, but I just don't find that very fun. You know, when you're hitting stuff and you're not doing any damage. It reminds me of the original Asylum Demon with the broken straight sword. It's a fight that I think a lot of players did just to prove they could, but did you enjoy it? Because I know I didn't. And I tried to do a broken straight sword run, so just to show how badass I was. But that was so fucking boring, dude. Quelag took like 40 minutes. My god. You know, I like to do stupid stuff on games, but I have to enjoy it. That's the one thing for me. Doesn't matter what it is. It can be the most difficult, most rage-inducing thing. If I find something to enjoy, I'll do it. But it can be something that's not even that difficult. If you piss me off and I don't like it and it's not fun, I'm done. This is Oda Nobunaga, and I love this fight, but I hate this room. I really like fighting this guy in the snow place because you've got way more room to maneuver, and it really shows the holes in this guy's build. The reason this room has those torches is so that you run into them when you're trying to flee from a projectile and get hit. The reason this room is very small is so that he can have all the advantage on you. It's designed really well because he is not that hard. He's got a lot of moves, he's really creative, and he's got some interesting properties, but he's not hard at all, really. Does he kill you a lot? Yes. Will he kill you a lot? Definitely. Does he kill me a lot? All the time. But fundamentally, he's quite simple. I need to hit that shrine before I do this as well. So this guy is way harder, believe it or not. You know Kelly, that boss that you can loop with the swords, that boss that you can bully with a weapon because all he does is block and you break his guard and then grapple him? Well, guess what? Fists don't break guard. They're terrible at it. They don't do shit. It's really bizarre, so I can't do this like I normally do, and this became one of the harder fights in the game, because he has all those special weird serpent moves that have got bullshit range, and I don't have the damage I need, so this becomes really interesting. And remember how I was saying I always felt like I had the damage I needed? This was the first time where I felt like I could do with more, because this guy was pissing me off. And the reason that he's awkward is not only the block and the invincible backstep, but if he randomly decides to do that get off me AoE that has massive range, that one, it completely lowers your confidence in staying close to him. Because the best strategy here is to stick up his ass. But you can't, because if he does that move and he catches you, it's instant death. But I got into a pretty good rhythm here of understanding what to do. And if he blocked on me, I got behind him, and I waited for the moment he stopped blocking, and then I could get a free crit on him. But just then I had no damage, so I used it to buff. But that's his weird don't touch me Dalsim move. Wait for him, then kick him. Wait for him again. Oh, he didn't do it. Sometimes you can get him into a block loop where you can keep kicking him from behind. But once again, Kelly is not that difficult. It's just, if he pulls out one of those bullshit moves, it's over. And then there's this, which, when I first did Yamato-no-Orochi, I thought this fight was really, really interesting because it was climactic, it was big, and it was a lot fairer than I thought it was going to be. I still think it needs a checkpoint in the middle, because I think it makes more sense. Like, I'd have it when, you know, the serpent breaks the roof. I think that should have been a checkpoint or a cutscene and then a checkpoint, because I think it would just make the flow of the fight more enjoyable. But now I've come back to it and I no-damaged it on my other run, which was miserable because all this is a bunch of AIs with perfect aim landing worm-level grenades on your head using the wind. And it's just miserable, and this bit's the worst part, because there's two of these motherfuckers that can both do that breath, and dodging that breath can be a nightmare. Sometimes it's dead easy, other times nope. And as you can witness right now, I'm using the Kusarigama, and I'm using Reaper with it, because I don't have the damage to do this fight. I don't have the buffs, there's just not enough in the world. I killed 4 serpents before I ran out of damage, and that's as far as I could get, because I just couldn't do any more, and that was it. So I tried for about 2 hours, seeing how far I could get, killed 4 serpents, and then called it a day, and then went away, tried to get more damage, came back with more damage, still couldn't do more than 4 serpents, and then decided to use a different weapon. So once you've killed the ones at the beginning, I like to move towards the left-hand side here, because the wind guy does a multiple projectile. The most dangerous of the dragon heads are the wind guy and the guy with the lightning, because the lightning does, the first hit will stun you, the second hit comes down and it kills really, really fast. The fire is also quite dangerous, but he's not too bad, and he's easily blocked. And the electrical dude, the blue dude, the water guy I should say, he's not too bad either. He seems to be quite fair and quite fun. But here's me going in, trying to finish off that dude and then getting back in position. Something you need to know about this strategy, when you stand where I'm standing, you can still get hit. Randomly, when they fire stuff, they just fire it a little bit differently and it hits you. I've died behind that crystal in the same spot I've been safe, and it doesn't really have any kind of rhyme or reason. Additionally, if you move too far to the left when he does the breath will hit you. So this is all about understanding that you are not safe. You're vulnerable a lot. But once you kill one, you get the element on your weapon, and now you can use the element to bully one of the other ones, which is what you want to do. So I'm going to move towards the blue guy, because the crystal's going to safeguard me from the other ones, and I'm going to do good damage to this guy. And this is pretty much it. Once this guy goes down, we're going to go to the other side and get rid of the guy firing at me from the right. And we're going to wean them down. And the only reason this is kind of undoable at the moment for me with the fists is because of how much downtime this fight has. You can't bum rush each of these serpents, it just doesn't work. Because the magic is raining down on you all the time, and you will run away from it, and it'll beat you to your destination, so you'll run into it. The amount of times I've been running away from magic and I've ran into it is kind of ridiculous. If you've ever fought revenants with cannons, you know how the cannon is perfect aim on the revenant, and even if you dodge sometimes they still hit you? It's like that. The AI is so accurate that they just track you perfectly. It's kind of bullshit as I take a big hit and you see me heal, which, have you seen me heal in this playthrough so far? No, because that's not what it's meant to be about. But this fight is so fucking miserable when it comes to these restrictions that it's just rough. And it can be no damage, definitely. But the patience it takes to put up with all the stupid stuff, I don't have it. It's not in my blood. So you'll probably never see me do this fight at level 1 no damage, because it just doesn't interest me. It frustrates me too much. I would rather take on 2 Ishidas at the same time than no damage this fucking shit. Like, I'm hoping those boss rushes that turn up have got awesome combinations of enemies. Like, I want the Dark Samurai with another dude, like the Dark Samurai and Okatsu or something. I want bosses together like they did in mission mode in Ninja Gaiden. I want really mean stuff. I want stuff that people can't do because it's that bloody mean. You know, I want a reason to sweat and suffer. Not silliness. Silliness doesn't do me. Like this bit right now. I had full intentions, guys, when I was recording this, to take the weapon off and punch this final form. And then I got hit by 2 massive head stomps that didn't touch me, and I had to do the entire fight again. So I decided, no, fuck it, I'm not doing it. So I'm going to have the cheesiest, most boring fight here, where I bait him into doing the head stomp that's got 90 feet of extra distance, because it's apparently got an invisible shockwave that sycophantic players like to defend, when, let's just face it, if there isn't a visual shockwave being designed, it's an invisible shockwave, and that's bad design. It's the same problem with the yokai move where he holds it above his head and he does the big slam, and it hits you from 3 meters away. Like, It shouldn't have the range it does, but it does, and there's nothing you can do about it except understand it. So here it is. That's the move that killed me. And then when he gets closer, I'm going to hit him in the head. And this is all I'm going to do, guys. I'm going to bait that head slam. He's not going to cooperate because he wants to do every other fucking move instead. And, you know, shit fight, shit boss, shit video, I guess. But before this, I thought it was great, you know? I was really, really enjoying it. And then I miss, which is not good. And it's funny, too. On my other encounters against this particular boss, I was up against his throat, slashing the tits off him and having a really fun time. But I didn't have to face hitboxes that don't work, and one-hit kills taking you back to the beginning of the fight. Nothing this guy could do to my other build could kill me in one hit, so I was never afraid of it. In this video I was, and it shows. You know? It does, it shows. And it's just because you can't trust what the game shows you. And that's a big problem for me in any game. Because fundamentally, when you're learning a video game, the base moment of understanding and strength in your play will come from understanding when you are vulnerable and when you are safe. It will come from understanding what you have to do to stay safe, or to put you in a less vulnerable state. That's just video games. And then once you have all that understanding, and you can do it reactively when it's happening, you will be the best player you can be. But the moment that trust and that safety is dispelled by something you don't understand, you're left completely shattered by it. And it was one of the things that happens in, like, whenever you fought against a boss that did something you didn't expect, and you're like, wow, I've never seen him do that before. And afterwards, you're kind of thrown. You don't really know what to do, because what if he does it again? You know, why did he do it? What did I do that conditioned him into doing that? And it adds doubt, and the moment you start doubting yourself in any kind of challenge can be rough. How many people do you know who start challenge runs, quit them, because they talk themselves out of it? You know, adversity is like that. You know, you get those doubts, you get it dwindling away in the back of your mind. I can't do this. What if I can't do this? What about this? What if it's too hard? You know, you pretty much talk yourself out of the challenge before you've even done it, before you've even faced it. And that's the big conquest when it comes to doing anything in life, be it video games, be it, you know, anything. If you can silence that voice in your head that's telling you you can't do it, you can do anything. But that voice can be really bloody strong and really persistent, and sometimes it's easier to just run away from it. Speaking of, as we run away from the big bite and I try and get a punish and then I go for the slash, there it was. I told you though, folks, super boring fight, super safe, using a weapon that's not a fist. Really sad day for this build, but alas, fuck this game, you know? That's what I say. And here's the big slam, which I'm not giving any credence to because that move is shit. Designed by a child. Could have hit it twice. That was unfortunate. But I'm wondering if you can do anything cool to this boss, because I know you can shoot his horn, I know you can attack his throat and get close and do those moves. I wonder if there's any kind of... Like, can you imagine if you could do that move? There's a move for, I think it's the sword, I forget which stance it is. But if you block the moment you get attacked, apparently it throws attackers off balance, and then you can do this follow-up move. And I've never really messed with it too much, because it's unnecessary when you can parry those very attacks and get guaranteed damage. And it doesn't require any of the skill of that. Because the parry is quite wide, whereas that just touching it as you block is much, much tighter. So aside from bragging rights, I don't really see the situations where that would be more worthwhile. And I miss again, because I suck. Should have attacked his throat, right, boys? But that parry move, can you imagine if when he fires the ice, if you could tap it just as it touches you, it knocked it back? Or any of these moves, if you just tapped it at the moment it got to you, you did a perfect parry, sent it back, and it stunned him or something? That'd be cool. Maybe that exists. Maybe I should have tried that, but I didn't. Because I don't have any faith that it does exist. As much as I really would like it to, because that's the stuff I love. I love those kind of designs. But this is not the final boss. It's kind of the final boss, but it's not, because of course we have to do the epilogue, where we go into... we go back to London and we do all that stuff. But I've really, really enjoyed most of this run. I didn't enjoy the prep, and I didn't enjoy this fight, and I didn't enjoy the Clone Kelly fight, but everything else was spot on, you know? Really, really spot on, and I'm glad I did it. And I'm hoping that you enjoyed, you know, following it, and maybe it gave you an idea to do something stupid as well, and maybe you're on that stupid build that you had an idea to do, and you're enjoying it too. Because that's the great thing about Nioh. There's so much to do in this game. There's so many different ways to approach it. And I think the next thing I'm going to do is it's going to be level 1. I'm not going to have any titles or any prestige points used. I might take off my... unassign my Guardian Spirit completely, so it's just man and sword. You know, the man with the sword. Like a Yojimbo build or something. Level 1. All the different stances, all the skill points in the world to make him super cool, but no magic. No magic at all. Just a purist swordsman, a true Bushido guy. And see what we can do with that. Maybe that'll be cool. As we do the final hit, and I swap to my second weapon, which is a Kusarigama, and then I put my fists on to finish him off, and I'm like, okay, this is not going to work. I can't finish this guy off unless I put my sword on, so yeah. So technically, this boss is impossible to do with the fists to finish it anyway, which is really silly, but that boss is not a Souls boss in a very Souls-like game. So thank you very much for watching, and you take care now.